In a quiet African village where nights were darker than hope itself, lived a poor man named Cabello and his wife Naya. Their house was small, their food was never enough, and their dreams were already broken. Cabello wanted one thing in life: a son. A boy who would carry his name, a boy who would change his fate. But fate had its own plans. One cold night, under a weak oil lamp, Naya screamed in pain as the village midwife whispered words that would change everything forever. "They are girls, twins." The room went silent. Cabello did not smile. He did not cry. He turned away. 2 girls, in a house that could barely feed 2 adults. That night, Cabello did not sleep. He stared at the roof, counting problems instead of stars. How will we earn? How will we eat? 2 girls and no future. He believed poverty was already punishment, and daughters were the final blow. Outside, the babies cried, and fate listened. Before this story begins, I want you to do one thing. Subscribe to this channel and share this video, because this is not just a story, it is a reminder that some children don't come to take from you, they come carrying destiny. Morning came, but peace did not. Nia held the twins tightly, her eyes swollen from tears. She saw beauty, she saw life, but Cabello saw only hunger. Neighbors whispered, "Girls bring expense, boys bring strength." Every word added weight to Cabello's heart. Days passed, food became less, work disappeared, and slowly, a terrible thought entered Cabello's mind. One night, he spoke without looking at his wife. "We cannot raise them." Nia shook her head. "They are innocent." But innocence does not fill empty stomachs. That night, Cabello wrapped the babies in an old cloth. Nia followed silently, barefoot, trembling. They walked far, farther than guilt, farther than courage. At a lonely road outside the village, Cabello stopped. The babies cried together, as if they already understood the world was not kind. Nia kissed their foreheads. Her tears fell on their faces. Cabello placed them gently on the ground, and then they walked away. Behind them, 2 cries followed into the darkness. Ahead of them, regret was waiting. The road was silent again, until footsteps appeared. A poor couple, Jabari and Zola, were returning from the city. Their clothes were worn, their faces tired. They had no children, not because they didn't want them, but because life had said no. Suddenly, Zola stopped. "Do you hear that?" 2 cries, small, fragile. They followed the sound, and there they saw them, 2 baby girls, alone. Zola dropped to her knees. Who could do this? Jabari looked around. No one. They had almost nothing, but they had hearts. Zola held the babies, and something strange happened. For the first time in years, she smiled. "They didn't come empty-handed," she whispered. "They came with their own destiny." Jabari hesitated. "We are poor." Zola looked at him and said words that would change their lives forever. "Children don't come to eat your provision. They come with their own." And that night, the twins went home. Jabari and Zola's house was small, 1 room, cracked walls. But that night, it felt different, warm, alive. The twins slept peacefully, as if they knew they were finally safe. The next morning, something strange happened. A customer who had avoided Jabari for months suddenly returned, then another. Zola sold all her goods before sunset, for the first time ever. They looked at each other in disbelief. Days turned into weeks. Opportunities appeared. Work increased. Their small business began to grow, slowly, quietly. Neighbors noticed. Ever since those girls came. But Jabari and Zola never bragged. They just worked harder and loved deeper. The twins were named Amara and Io. No one knew it yet, but the house had received more than children. It had received change.
Back in the village, Cabello's house grew colder. Silence replaced crying. Food was still scarce, work still uncertain. But something else was missing. Nia sat quietly every night, staring at nothing. Cabello avoided her eyes. He had wanted a son, but lost his soul. Far away, Amara and Io laughed in a home that once knew only struggle. Jabari and Zola prayed every night. Thank you for trusting us with this destiny. And somewhere between regret and hope, fate smiled, because this story was only beginning, and the daughters once abandoned were carrying a future no one could imagine.
The morning sun pierced through the small cracks in Jabari and Zola's home, falling on two tiny faces curled in the folds of a thin blanket. Amara and Io stirred, their eyes blinking against the light. For the first time, they felt something unfamiliar: safety. Zola, despite the rough hands of a life that had given her very little, prepared a simple breakfast. The aroma of fresh bread and porridge filled the room. The twins stared wide-eyed. This was warmth, comfort, life itself, all things they had never known. Jabari, standing quietly in the doorway, felt something stir deep in his chest. These two fragile girls, so small and vulnerable, had entered his life, and already they had changed everything. Days passed, and slowly the twins began to understand the rhythm of this new life. They slept under clean blankets, they played without fear, they laughed for the first time. But it was not only joy that filled the house, it was hope. Something shifted in Jabari's business too. The small customers who had disappeared months ago returned. Orders came more frequently. Even the simplest of tasks seemed lighter, easier. Zola watched them, holding Amara close, and whispered, "They didn't just come to be cared for. They came to care for us, and maybe even more." Little did anyone know, these girls were not ordinary. Their presence was quiet, subtle, but powerful. They were carrying something invisible, something extraordinary, a spark that would ignite the fortunes of this humble family. School started for the twins. Their minds were hungry, but they were hungry for more than lessons. Jabari and Zola took every opportunity to teach them about life, respect, and humility. "Never look down on anyone," Zola would say. "Even the poorest person may carry more wisdom than the richest man." The twins observed, listened, and acted. At the market, they shared their small meals with children who had none. They smiled at the shopkeepers, spoke politely to strangers, and lent hands where needed. Even in their innocence, there was a power. Something shifted around them. Customers returned to Jabari's store, praising his generosity and humility, though the twins never asked for attention. "It is as if the universe is rewarding good hearts," Jabari whispered one evening, eyes on his daughters. "They are small, yet they carry a great blessing." The twins were learning something no school could teach. Kindness is stronger than wealth, and respect opens doors that money cannot. 3 years passed. The small house in the village now seemed almost magical. Laughter echoed where there had once been only silence. Jabari's business was growing, slowly at first, then steadily, and neighbors whispered among themselves, "Ever since the twins came, the shop has been lucky." Amara and Ao didn't understand it. They thought their acts of kindness were small, simple things. But the market thrived, new opportunities appeared, and even old customers returned with smiles. Sometimes Amara would notice, "When we laugh, more people come, and when we cry, the air feels heavy." Even the twins sensed it. They were not ordinary children. There was something in their laughter, their footsteps, their presence that seemed to move the world. Jabari and Zola exchanged glances. They had hoped for happiness with these daughters. What they had not expected was that the girls would carry destiny itself. The twins grew in the village school. Not only were they fast learners, but they were polite, humble, and kind. Teachers admired them. Other children envied them. Yet the twins never acted proud. Jabari taught them more than letters and numbers. He taught them life. How to work hard without arrogance. How to respect everyone no matter their wealth. How to help quietly without expecting reward. Even a simple loaf of bread shared with a hungry child became a lesson in gratitude and power. "Our fortune is not in coins or notes," Jabari said once. "Our fortune is in how we live and in the hearts we touch." Amara and Io internalized this. The girls were humble yet powerful in the unseen ways, influencing their home and community simply by being themselves. By the 4th year, the transformation was remarkable. Jabari's small shop had grown into a bustling business. The neighborhood respected him. Customers came from far and wide. And through it all, the twins remained humble, never asking for recognition, never showing pride. "It's the children," a neighbor whispered. "They must be lucky." Amara and Io did not know it, but luck alone could not explain the changes. Their presence had activated something powerful, a sequence of events that would take a poor family to heights they had never imagined. And somewhere, far away, Cabello and Nia sat quietly in the darkness, unaware that the daughters they had abandoned were alive, thriving, and beginning to shape their own destiny. The story of Amara and Io had only just begun. Fate was patient, and it had a plan far greater than anyone imagined. 4 years had passed since Jabari and Zola took Amara and Io into their lives. The twins had grown into curious, intelligent little girls. One morning, as Zola walked to the market, she noticed something strange. A merchant had returned, bringing with him a larger order than usual. "I don't know why," he said, "but ever since your daughters arrived, business has felt different." Jabari smiled quietly. He had noticed it too. Subtle blessings, small successes, opportunities appearing without explanation. Amara and Io had no idea they were at the center of it. They were simply living their lives, helping at the market, playing with other children, studying diligently, and always sharing what little they had. One evening, Jabari whispered to Zola, "These girls, they carry something extraordinary. I don't know what, but they change the world just by being here." That night, the twins slept peacefully, unaware that their simple acts of kindness were slowly turning their humble home into a place of growing prosperity. Jabari began teaching the twins the art of work. "Nothing comes without effort," he said, showing them how he organized his small shop, counted coins, and spoke with customers politely. Zola added lessons in patience. Sometimes life moves slowly, but even a small step forward is progress. Amara and Ao absorbed these lessons naturally. They learned to respect everyone, from the richest merchant to the smallest street vendor. Even small gestures, like helping carry a heavy basket or giving a loaf of bread to a hungry child, seemed to bring unexpected rewards. The family's small shop saw more customers than ever. Every sale felt like more than luck. It felt like a reward for their humility and diligence.
"Our daughters are changing more than themselves," Zola said quietly to Jabari one evening. "They are changing everyone around them." By the 5th year, Jabari and Zola's business had expanded. The small shop was now a bustling marketplace stall, attracting customers from neighboring villages. Amara and Io, though still children, contributed in small but meaningful ways. They greeted customers with smiles, helped pack orders, and even learned basic money counting. Word of their presence spread. "The little girls bring luck," villagers said. What no one realized was that it wasn't luck, it was the twins' natural charm, their kindness, and the energy they brought to the house. Their laughter and gentle actions seemed to draw opportunities like a magnet. At night, Jabari and Zola would look at the twins sleeping and feel a sense of awe. These little girls, once abandoned, had become the heartbeat of their lives, and the heartbeat of their business. "If only the world knew," Jabari whispered, "what true fortune looks like." The twins were now attending school full-time. Not only were they academically gifted, but they remained humble, respectful, and kind-hearted. Their teachers noticed it immediately: polite, intelligent, and always willing to help classmates. Even the children who envied them couldn't resist admiring them. Jabari and Zola continued to teach them outside school how to work without arrogance, how to help without expecting rewards, how to remain humble even as life improved. Amara and Io absorbed these lessons like sponges. They learned that wealth is measured not by money, but by character, respect, and love. Even the small acts, giving leftover food to the hungry, helping neighbors carry water, or sharing school supplies, seemed to bring blessings back to the family. The twins were learning, unknowingly, how to carry destiny in their hearts. 3 to 4 years after their arrival, Jabari and Zola were no longer just surviving. Their shop had grown into a thriving business. They had more customers than ever. Opportunities seemed to arrive from unexpected places. Amara and Ayo, still young, were excelling in school and maintaining the humility that made them beloved by everyone who knew them. "They are not just children," Zola whispered one night. "They are luck, they are hope, they are the reason everything changed." The villagers noticed the transformation. The family that had once struggled for a single meal was now prospering. Little did anyone know, these girls, once abandoned, once helpless, were now carrying the seeds of their own destiny, preparing for a future that would shape not just their lives, but the lives of everyone around them. And somewhere, far away, Cabello and Naya were still living with regret, unaware that the daughters they had abandoned had already begun to turn the world into something beautiful. The story was only beginning, but fate was already in motion. Amara and Io were no longer little girls. They had entered their teenage years, yet their hearts remained as pure and humble as when they had first arrived at Jabari and Zola's home. School was challenging now. Subjects grew harder, expectations higher. But the twins approached each task with patience, diligence, and curiosity. Their classmates admired them, and even teachers began to whisper about the miracle children who seemed to brighten every room they entered. At home, Jabari and Zola continued their lessons, not just in academics, but in life. "You may gain wealth one day," Jabari told them, "but never let it change the way you treat others." The twins nodded, understanding that their lives were no longer only about survival. They had been given an opportunity, a chance to rise, to build, and to shape a future far beyond the reach of their past. Even as the neighborhood watched them grow, subtle signs of luck and blessing continued to follow the family. Orders at the shop increased, new customers appeared, and everything seemed brighter when Amara and Io were present. Jabari's shop had long since grown into a bustling store. The twins, now more aware of their surroundings, began helping in meaningful ways. They greeted every customer with a smile, assisted with calculations, and even learned basic management skills. What the family noticed most, however, was how quickly opportunities began to appear. Vendors offered discounts, small loans were granted with ease, a large order came unexpectedly. Zola looked at Jabari one night and said quietly, "I don't know if this is luck or something else, but ever since the girls arrived, everything seems to grow faster than it should." Jabari nodded in agreement. He had seen it too, a subtle, almost invisible force guiding the family toward prosperity. The twins had no idea they were responsible. To them, it was just life, but the energy they carried was shaping their destiny and accelerating the growth of the family's business beyond anything Jabari and Zola had imagined.
Even as the business grew, the twins remained humble. They did not flaunt the wealth, nor did they demand privileges at school or in the village. Instead, they continued to help neighbors, share meals with less fortunate children, and assist elderly vendors. Each act of kindness seemed to bring unexpected returns to the family. "You see, Amara," Zola said, "true wealth is not measured by coins, but by love, respect, and the lives you touch." The twins internalized this lesson deeply. Every day, they were learning that power does not lie in money, and true influence comes from character. Neighbors whispered, "Those girls, they are more than ordinary." And indeed, they were. Without knowing it, they were slowly setting the stage for a life of prosperity that would astonish everyone, including the parents who had once abandoned them.
Amara and Amayo's academic skills began to shine. Teachers called them model students. They were polite, bright, and always willing to help classmates. But beyond the classroom, their values set them apart. They respected everyone, including workers, vendors, and strangers. Jabari continued, "It is not enough to be smart. You must also be kind and never forget where you came from." The twins listened, and in every small act, they showed that they had learned this lesson well. Even the smallest gestures, giving leftover food to the hungry, helping carry water, or comforting a crying child, became signs of their influence and blessing. Meanwhile, the family's business continued to thrive, growing faster each year. It seemed that the twins' presence alone was enough to bring fortune, as if the universe recognized the goodness in their hearts.
By the end of their teenage years, Amara and Ayo were no longer just the twins who had arrived one rainy night. They had grown into confident, intelligent, and compassionate young ladies. Jabari and Zola's business had transformed completely. The small shop had become a flourishing enterprise. Opportunities that once seemed impossible now arrived almost effortlessly. The twins' academic performance was exceptional, but what truly impressed everyone was their humility, their respect for others, and their unwavering kindness. "We are witnessing something extraordinary," Zola whispered one evening. "These girls, they carry something more powerful than wealth or status. They carry destiny." Little did anyone know, the best was yet to come. Amara and Ayo's lives were not just about wealth. Their destiny had begun, and the events that would change the lives of everyone around them, including their biological parents, were quietly taking shape. The story was moving toward a point where destiny, humility, and justice would converge, and nothing would ever be the same again.
By now, Jabari and Zola's shop had grown into a bustling business. Customers came from neighboring villages. Orders poured in. The twins' presence, though subtle, seemed to bring luck and fortune wherever they went. Amara and Io were admired by everyone, teachers, classmates, neighbors, not just for their intelligence, but for their humility. They helped the poor, shared what little they had, and always treated everyone with respect. Jabari looked at Zola one evening and whispered, "They are not just our daughters. They carry something extraordinary, something that no money could ever buy." The family celebrated small victories, a larger shipment, a new customer, a profitable deal. But to the twins, it felt normal. They were just living their lives, unaware that their destiny was unfolding with every smile, every kind act, every gesture. One day, Amara noticed a street vendor struggling to carry a basket of goods. Without hesitation, she and Io ran to help. The vendor, surprised, smiled and said, "God bless these children." It was a simple act, yet it had a ripple effect. The vendor began bringing more customers to Jabari's shop, impressed by the girls' kindness. Word spread across the village. Those girls bring fortune wherever they go. Even at school, the twins helped classmates who were struggling, shared supplies, and treated everyone as equals. Their presence inspired others, and the community began to see them not just as children, but as symbols of hope, luck, and integrity. Jabari and Zola watched quietly, proud but humble, understanding that their daughters were slowly shaping not only their family's destiny, but the village's as well. Business continued to grow, almost miraculously. Vendors offered discounts, customers returned with larger orders. A small loan granted earlier now turned into a profitable investment. Amara and Ao noticed the changes but didn't understand the cause. They simply continued being kind, helping others, studying diligently, and following the lessons Jabari and Zola had taught them. "It's strange how everything seems to improve when they are around," Zola said one evening, her eyes glimmering with pride. "It's as if the universe is recognizing their hearts." The twins' influence was now visible to everyone. Their school success, social grace, and compassion were quietly building a reputation that would prepare them for a future beyond imagination. By now, the twins were teenagers approaching young adulthood. Their academic performance was exceptional, and they continued to help others selflessly. But their presence at home was beginning to influence bigger changes. Jabari's business had expanded further, more employees, more clients, more opportunities. "They are not just children," Jabari told Zola. "They are the reason everything is turning around. They carry destiny." Even the villagers noticed. Whispers spread. "The girls are lucky or blessed." The twins, still humble, carried themselves with quiet dignity. They didn't flaunt wealth, influence, or success. They continued helping, studying, and growing. Their future was slowly taking shape, guided by the invisible force of their kindness and integrity. By now, 5 years had passed since Amara and Io had entered Jabari and Zola's life. What had once been a small village shop had grown beyond anyone's imagination. Customers came from neighboring villages, and soon Jabari's business had expanded into the city. They moved into a larger, more comfortable home, with clean walls, bright windows, and a garden where the twins could play safely. For the first time, the family could afford things they had never dreamed of. A modest car at first, and then a luxury vehicle, gleaming under the sunlight, a symbol not of arrogance, but of hard-earned success. Money was no longer a worry, but unlike many who rise quickly, Jabari and Zola remained humble. They continued to teach Amara and Io the same lessons they had learned together: kindness, respect, and humility. The twins, now teenagers approaching young adulthood, continued to excel in school while helping others in their new community. Neighbors whispered, "Those girls, they don't just bring fortune, they bring miracles." Even in the city, their acts of kindness, helping street children, supporting struggling vendors, offering guidance to classmates, created ripple effects.
Their home became a place of love, warmth, and influence.
Amara and Ayo were no longer teenagers. They had blossomed into intelligent, graceful young women, carrying the poise and wisdom that life had gifted them. The small village girls who had once cried on a lonely road were now mature, confident, and ready to embrace the world. University awaited them. Not only had their academic potential grown, but their values remained intact. Wealth had come into their family's life, a beautiful home, a thriving business, and luxury vehicles, yet the twins never let it change their hearts. "We must never forget where we came from," Amara whispered one morning to Ayo as they prepared to leave for university in their personal car. The world outside their home seemed full of endless possibilities. Their journey was just beginning. Amara and Ayo arrived at university with quiet confidence. Their peers were drawn to them, not because of wealth, but because of their humility, intelligence, and warmth. Lectures, projects, and campus life were all new adventures, and the twins embraced each challenge with grace. Even in a rich life filled with privilege, they helped classmates, guided younger students, and volunteered for campus initiatives. "We are fortunate," Ayo said, smiling at Amara, "but our real value is in what we give, not what we have." Their car, their home, and the city's comforts were simply tools, not measures of their character. They continued to live by the lessons of kindness, humility, and integrity their adoptive parents had instilled in them. Amara and Ayo's adult life was a perfect balance. They attended classes, managed personal responsibilities, and occasionally helped Jabari and Zola with the family business. Even as they enjoyed university life, trips to the city, dinners, new clothes, and personal cars, their hearts remained humble. They greeted everyone politely, never looked down on anyone, and continued small acts of kindness that brought subtle blessings to those around them. The twins had become role models, showing that wealth and humility could coexist. Their community, classmates, and even strangers noticed this rare combination. "It is amazing," whispered a fellow student, "how someone can have everything yet remain so grounded." Amara and Ayo smiled quietly, knowing that true fortune was invisible, carried in actions, not gold. University life progressed, and the twins began taking charge of their own futures. They managed their schedules, prioritized studies, and helped Jabari and Zola expand the business remotely. Every decision reflected wisdom beyond their years. Despite their rich lifestyle, luxury home, personal cars, and a comfortable life, the twins never lost sight of their purpose: to live with dignity, humility, and generosity. They understood that destiny had brought them far, and now it was their turn to steer their own lives while uplifting others. "Everything we have," Amara said to Ayo one evening, "was given to us, not just for us, but so we can make a difference." One afternoon after finishing classes, Amara and Ayo were driving their personal car through the city streets, laughing and talking about their upcoming university projects. As they stopped at a traffic light, Amara noticed something familiar on the sidewalk: a pair of figures sitting hunched over, holding tattered cups. Beggars. Something in their posture, their features. Amara's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? She slowed the car. Ayo leaned over, and suddenly recognition hit them both. It was their biological parents, Cabello and Nia, the very people who had abandoned them years ago, now begging on the streets. Amara felt a surge of emotion, sadness, disbelief, and a quiet strength. She glanced at Ayo. They shared a silent understanding. "We came back for nothing," whispered Amara softly, "yet here they are, broken, in need." For the first time, they were confronted with the consequences of abandonment, and yet the twins remained calm, dignified, and humble, ready to face their past with love and forgiveness, not anger. The story had reached a turning point where wealth, destiny, and morality would collide in a profound emotional moment. The traffic light turned red, but Amara's hands remained frozen on the steering wheel.
The beggar woman lifted her head slightly, her eyes dull from years of hunger. And then, suddenly, they widened. She stared at the twins, not at their car, not at their clothes, at their faces. Her hands began to shake. Io noticed it too. "Amara, she's looking at us strangely." The woman stood slowly, ignoring the coins in her cup. She stepped closer to the car, her voice barely a whisper. "Those eyes." Her gaze moved between Amara and Io. "I have seen those eyes before." Amara felt a strange tightening in her chest. Not fear, not anger, but something deeper, heavier. The man beside the woman looked confused. "Nia, come back, leave them." But Nia couldn't move. Tears streamed down her face as memories crashed into her mind. 2 crying babies, a dark road, a night she never escaped. "My daughters," she whispered. The world seemed to stop. Amara slowly stepped out of the car. Amara stood in front of the woman, her voice calm but firm. "Why are you crying?" Nia fell to her knees. "Because I failed you." Ao felt her breath leave her chest. The man beside her, Cabello, lowered his head. He already knew. Fathers always know. Nia spoke through sobs, her words broken. "We were poor, desperate, and foolish. Your father wanted a son. When you were born, twins, girls." She couldn't continue. Silence followed. No shouting, no accusations, just truth hanging heavy in the air. Amara looked at them. Thin clothes, tired faces, broken dignity. "We didn't come to ask for explanations," she said softly. "We came to understand." Cabello finally spoke. "I chose pride over responsibility, and God taught me the price."
Cabello's voice trembled as he continued. "Years later, God gave us a son." Ao's heart sank. "We thought it was redemption," Nia added, "but we raised him with bitterness." Their son grew up angry, ashamed of poverty, resentful of weakness, obsessed with money and status. "You ruined my life," he used to tell them. "I won't be poor like you." When Cabello became sick and money ran out, the son changed. One night he pointed to the door. "Leave! This house is not for beggars." No beating, no shouting, just cold rejection. They were thrown out with nothing. Nia wiped her tears. And now, here we are. Amara closed her eyes, not in pain, in reflection. Io finally spoke, her voice steady. "We came back today with our provision." Nia looked up, confused. Amara continued, "But we are not like you." There was no hatred in her tone, only clarity. "We were raised differently, by parents who chose us, not abandoned us." Cabello lowered his head in shame. Amara reached into her bag and handed them food and water. "Eat first." Nia broke down completely. "After what we did, you still help us?" Io answered quietly, "Because bitterness would only make us poor inside." People around them had stopped walking. They were watching something rare. Grace. Amara looked at Io. No words were needed. They had already decided. "Come with us," Amara said. Cabello froze. "We don't deserve." Io interrupted gently. "This is not about deserving. It's about ending a cycle." They opened the car door. Nia hesitated, then stepped inside, trembling. As the car drove away, the street returned to its noise, but something sacred had just happened. Not revenge, not justice, mercy. And somewhere, far away,
Jabari and Zola were about to meet the past their daughters had carried with dignity their entire lives. The final chapters of destiny had begun.
The car moved quietly through the city streets. Nia sat in the back seat, clutching the small bag Amara had given her. Cabello stared out the window, unable to believe what was happening. Tall buildings, clean roads, a world they had never touched. Finally, the car stopped in front of a large, elegant house. Lights glowed warmly inside. Nia whispered, her voice shaking, Where are we?" Amara answered calmly, "Our home." The gates opened. As they stepped inside, Cabello's legs weakened. This was not charity. This was dignity. But fear sat heavy in their hearts. What if they reject us again? What if God is only delaying punishment? Neither twin replied. Some answers are not spoken, they are experienced.
Inside the house, Jabari and Zola were waiting. They had prepared dinner, unaware that destiny was about to knock. The door opened. Amara spoke softly. "Mama, Baba, we brought guests." Zola looked up and froze. Two broken faces, two trembling souls. Jabari felt it immediately. Not anger, not suspicion, but understanding. "Sit," Zola said gently. "You must be tired." Nia burst into tears. "After what we did, you still welcome us?" Zola placed food in front of her and replied, "Children are not blessings because they are perfect. They are blessings because they teach us mercy." Cabello broke down completely. That night, no one asked questions. Love spoke first. Days later, the truth about the biological son surfaced fully. Cabello received news. Their son had moved on, changed his number, taken everything. No visits, no regret. Nia cried quietly. Io spoke with maturity beyond her years. He chose comfort over conscience. Amara added, "We choose differently." Jabari placed a hand on Cabello's shoulder. A child raised without love becomes a stranger to empathy. This was not punishment. This was consequence. And yet, the cycle stopped here. Years later, people still spoke about that family, not because of money, not because of luxury cars or a big house, but because of a story. A story of twins who were abandoned because they were girls and returned as women who refused to abandon others. They did not come back for revenge. They did not come back to accuse. They came back with their destiny, and destiny chose mercy. Some children are born poor, some are abandoned, but the ones raised with love return richer than everyone else.